Dramatic development, Brian. What do we know?
Well, Senator Jay Rockefeller is leading this charge. He thinks journalists from Rupert Murdoch's papers may have targeted Americans for phone hacking, that those actions may have been criminal in nature, and that they even might have involved victims of September 11th. So as of now, Mr. Murdoch is under some intense pressure on both sides of the Atlantic.
As he faces the investigative music in Britain, critical mass builds to look into the actions of Rupert Murdoch's companies in the U.S. Several lawmakers are now calling for investigations into whether Murdoch's tabloids hacked the phones of Americans. Powerful Senator Jay Rockefeller's leading that charge. He's especially concerned over reports that 9/11 victims' phones were hacked, and he told CNN his bet is they'll find, quote, criminal stuff. I caught up with Rockefeller.
You know that the Department of Justice and all kinds of other federal agencies are going to be going after this very hard, and we will too. I mean, this is a it's really repugnant, you know, that one man can control so many.
Do you have specific information that Americans that 9/11 victims had their phones hacked?
We will find out.
At least 2 relatives of 9/11 victims are joining in this call. Contacted by CNN, the Justice Department wouldn't comment on whether an investigation has been launched. Rockefeller called for the probe after victims of 9/11 were reported to have been among the targets of British papers. The Daily Mirror, a rival of Murdoch's papers, asserted that a New York private investigator said he'd been asked by News of the World journalists to hack victims' phones, but that he turned down the job. It's unclear if the tabloid journalists were after the phone records of American or British 9/11 victims, or both. Murdoch's company, the News Corporation, owner of some of the London papers that have been the focus of the outrage, is based in the United States. Its outlets include the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post, and Fox News Channel. Paul Farhi of the Washington Post says it's too early to tell if those operations will suffer legally from an investigation. But
what kind of public backlash could there be against Rupert Murdoch and his entities in the U.S., do you think, even if this doesn't come to full fruition, these investigations?
We know him through Fox News, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post, and all the TV stations he owns in this country. So he has plenty of enemies in this country, and this could be, and I stress the could be, the moment when they get a lot more ammunition to use against him.
We contacted News Corporation to ask if they would respond to calls for investigations, if they could shed light on the alleged attempt to hack Americans, and if they've launched their own investigation. A spokesman there would not comment. Wolf?
Isn't it for sure that U.S. law enforcement agencies will, in fact, investigate Murdoch's operations here in the United States? And if they do, I mean, what would the penalties be?
Legal experts tell us that it's not a slam dunk that U.S. agencies will investigate. If the Justice Department, for example, finds that British investigative agencies are doing a sufficient job and really going after them thoroughly, then the Americans might step aside. And as for the penalties, experts say that there could be some serious jail time if privacy laws were violated. And one senator wants to investigate whether these tabloid journalists actually paid for information. If it's found that they did, there could be some very serious fines into the millions of dollars.
Yeah, we spoke to Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey. He wants a full investigation. The Attorney General of the United States, Eric Holder, the FBI, he wants them all to get involved. We'll see what happens.
Right.
Yeah, Brian, thank you.